Yes, good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to join with all of you once again. Now is the time for us all to come together as one, remembering that there is no other time than this moment now. And in this moment now, let go of all thoughts you may hold of the past, all projections you may have for the future, and just be in this present moment here and now. And now, together we are here, and one with you and one with all. What we have to say today is, of course, the same message that we always have for you. You are a mind and not a body. Being a mind, you have the full power to change it. If you do not like how you feel, you can always change your mind. And the thing to do is to hand your mind over to the one who knows, and that is the Holy Spirit. You have but two choices in every situation on the level of mind, and that is between one voice and another voice, and which one you are listening to. That is either the ego or the Holy Spirit. Or, as we have said before, the right mind and the wrong mind. The right mind being the Holy Spirit, the wrong mind being the ego. And remember, the ego is just an idea. It is not a fact. It is something that you can, in any moment, let go of as you go along. See, the thing is, you took it so seriously. In fact, you take yourselves so seriously. You take the idea of separation so seriously when in true reality, there is no separation at all. On the level of mind, you are one with all. And that is one with your Creator and one with all. So, and that is love. And through the activity or the extending of forgiveness to yourself and to all, you begin to recognize oneness. In this oneness, there is only love. It is without judgment. It is without harshness. It is without condemnation. It is without conflict. You see, oneness is peace of mind. Oneness is allowing. Oneness is clarity. That is oneness. And that is love. So, throughout your experience right now, right here and now, and throughout your experience that you've had so far as well, you have had situations, your experiences that paint a different picture than what we say. And the thing is, you have believed that different picture since you came into existence here. We say existence. It is not real. It is a dream. It is just a dream. You are the dreamer of the dream. You are not the figure in the dream. But having believed that you were the figure in the dream, you forgot that you have a mind and that you are a mind, and that you have the full power and capability to change your mind. And in fact, awakening and change of mind are the same thing. You see, as you become present to yourself as the mind that is the dreamer of the dream, you can indeed look at your life from a different perspective. That is to look at your life with the teacher of peace, the teacher of love, which is the Holy Spirit, rather than the teacher you have been listening to, most likely your entire experience here so far, which is the teacher of conflict, the teacher of pain, the teacher of lies, you see. Now is the time to wake up, turn to the truth of you, and change your mind, embracing the ability to be what and who you really are, which is love. And that's what we have to say for this moment, as we know we will be going deeper with the questions that arise. And at this time, we are ready for the first question.
What do I do about depression when it arises? I am 52, and I have suffered from cyclic bouts of depression since I was a teenager. A typical cycle starts with a feeling of overwhelming, followed by a feeling of helplessness, followed by anger and resignation, all of which become this very heavy, dense, dark, negative outlook where nothing is worth it and suicide is always on the table. This can last a day to several weeks. Knowing that I am ultimately the author of these experiences doesn't help in those moments, as I tend to beat myself up for having hated myself enough to have written these experiences into my script. Any advice on how to heal through depression is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go back to the beginning. Please read that part first again.
Well, what do I do about depression when it arises? Depression.
Yes. So the first thing to do is you are aware of the sense of depression. And because you are aware of the sense of depression, in that moment, you can change your mind about how you feel. And what we mean by that is to be aware that this feeling is that familiar feeling of depression coming over me once again. And in that moment, you can then detach from the emotion and simply observe the emotions. And in detaching from it, what happens is you are no longer identifying yourself with the body, with the experience of depression. Does this make sense?
Waiting for an answer. Yes, but not always easy.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing we were going to say. These situations are not always easy. It takes a lot of practice and it takes compassion. You've got to begin to look at yourself with the Holy Spirit, who is always looking upon you with compassion, with love, with grace, rather than judgment and irritation or frustration or any of these negative emotions. Remember, if you feel these feelings, if you're judging yourself for even experiencing these things, you know that you were actually listening to the wrong mind, because the only mind that would look on you with feelings of a negative nature is coming from the wrong mind, the ego mind. So being aware of that and that feeling, you can indeed begin to practice that change of mind, you see. And instead of going down the same pattern, which is a habit, by the way, you begin to lift off of that, detaching from it, and it becomes easier and easier. But it does take practice. Does this make sense?
Yes. Okay.
And the other thing, the feelings of suicide and the feelings of being frustrated or feeling as though you must have hated yourself for writing that into your script, knowing that it is written into your script and you're aware that you're the one who wrote the script is good. But then you have to go beyond that awareness. Meaning, yes, now you know that you have written the script, but don't dwell in the writing of the script. Go beyond the writing of the script to the piece that is on the other side, which is in fact right here and now. Does this make sense?
Waiting. Yes, it does. Thanks.
You're welcome. Never let yourself feel like it's truth to beat yourself up about something that was done out of error. Remember that all error can be corrected when you hand it over, when you let it go, instead of clinging on to it as though it is something that you have to bring along with you. Guilt is never necessary. All it does is tell you something that is not true. Guilt is never justified. You are always and always will be innocent as the day you were thought. We love you. So,
That's exactly what I need to hear. I'm quick to beat myself up. Thank you.
you're welcome. Well, in that quick to beat yourself up, be quick to change your mind instead. You have the freedom to do so. In fact, you have the power to do so. Remember that. We love you. And thank you. Do you feel complete with this now?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So, yes, as you all go along, pay attention to the feelings that arise within you. And if it is ever some kind of blame, whether it be to someone outside yourself or towards yourself, know that it does not come from your higher mind or the Holy Spirit, but it comes from the ego. Because the ego is the thought of blame, the thought of guilt, the thought of hate, the thought of darkness, the thought that you could be anything other than what you are, which is perfect, pure, and innocent for all eternity and changeless. So remember this as you go along. So we are ready for the next question.
This is from online. When one realizes he is the dreamer of the dream, what happens to the individual? Who is the dreamer of the dream, and what happens to the individuals after realization?
Beautiful. So what happens to the individual when one realizes that you are the cause of the dream, meaning the dreamer of the dream, what you find is that, and this is what you're so afraid of, individuality, your individual self, your personal self becomes less and less and less. Does this make sense? Meaning, the false idea of yourself that you could be individual, meaning separate from all, begins to dissipate. Does this make sense?
Yes.
And the thing is, because you are so aware only of yourself as an individual self, that typically introduces a lot of fear. Do you agree? And that fear is what keeps you rooted in the illusion as being real at all. And what it is you listen to the Holy Spirit, who is here to gently walk you home. That means using all of your experience to gently, step by step, walk you home. Does this make sense?
Waiting.
And remember, this is gradual. This is gradual. This is little by little. We're not going to rip the dream from you right now. If we did that, that would be worse than your seeming nightmares now, you see. And also, it would exclude you as a mind, you see. Does this make sense?
Yes, how can we invoke you or other realized individuals?
Well, you begin to remind your mind that you are a mind. number one, and that on the level of mind, you are one with all. And whomever you call upon is there in that moment now. You are not separate from any of us. You are not separate from any help at all. But to open your mind to the help, you must remind the mind that you are a mind and that it is on the level of mind where you are one. Does this make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. You can say whatever it is that you feel comfortable saying that will comfort you and that will reassure you that we are with you. Does this make sense? You are never without help.
Yes, thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you. Another question.
It feels like God's omnipresent reality cannot be added to nor taken away from. Is the dependency upon anything that changes not a wise decision? Thank you. I love you
Well,
so much.
very good to think about that way. And you are never dependent upon anything that changes, really. Of course, in dreams, you think that you are, but that takes forgiveness, not judgment. Does this make sense? And there are no ways of, nobody is saying it's good or bad. We would like to clarify that. Does this make sense? So if you think that you depend on something that is external from you, just notice that that is illusion. Does this make sense?
Waiting.
And then don't beat yourself up for having that experience.
Yes, to see it as it is,
Yes.
not as it's mistakenly illusory set up to be.
Right, exactly. You don't want to start laying guilt trips on yourself. That's the worst thing you could do, as though you don't have enough of that coming from the ego already. Because it will try to guilt trip you. It will. In fact, that's its existence here. Guilt trip. Does this make sense? We want you to begin to just smile and notice that it is unreal, that it is illusion, that it cannot truly be so. Does this make sense? And when we say smile, we don't necessarily mean that you have to break out in a big grin, okay? This is a mental smile. You see, you realize I am the dreamer of this dream. Nothing here can affect me or touch me in truth, because I am formless and changeless in truth. So I know that whatever I seem to be experiencing or whatever I seem to be perceiving cannot really touch me at all unless I give it consent to affect my mind, you see. Does this make sense?
Yes, perfectly clear.
Wonderful.
Soul knowing, smiling.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
It's a gentle smile. Thank you. So,
you have assisted me in clarifying my mind all my life, and I have been healed and given life 5 years ago after a surgical accident. Multiple incurable diseases and disorders, all gone in a week's time. But I have a disorder of the nervous system that remains damaged. I work daily on clarifying my mind by forgiving and loving myself and others. How do I address the blocks I still seem to hold? When something surfaces, I release and work at forgiveness and love. Why am I not seeing it or knowing it? Trying to live in the now is not easy in this world, but I try to be aware and give it my all. I try to hear your guidance and responses. What am I not hearing?
wonderful. So, first of all, tune into yourself. What is it that you truly want? Is it peace of mind? Or is it a healed body? Waiting.
Waiting for an answer.
The reason we ask this is because truly your one goal really is peace of mind. You see, a healed body is no different than a sick body. In truth, it is all illusion. And so what happens is when you are identified with the form, when you are identified with a body, you feel as though the body, if it is not what you think is perfect, is not good enough. Does this make sense?
Waiting for an answer.
And if the questioner is online, you can type it into the chat box.
Yes, but if I don't take medication, I can end up in bed.
There's nothing wrong with taking medication. Does this make sense? See, what's happening is your ego is beginning to tell you that you should be beyond it. Does this make sense? Do you feel this?
Yes.
Okay. So what we want you to do is just, okay, well, I seem to need to take this medication. I am aware that it is illusion, but so is everything here. So is everything. So what's the big deal? So you stop placing so much emphasis on it, and then you begin to place no emphasis on it. It's just part of the dream. Do you follow what we're saying? That's true forgiveness. It is what it is, making peace with what is. Does this make sense?
Yes, thank you. Peace has come.
Wonderful. So just keep practicing that. You know, if you even end up in bed, so you end up in bed. You can love yourself anyway. You can maintain peace of mind no matter what. And if you have to take the illusion of medication, so be it. It's not a big deal. Nothing is wrong. This is a dream. We thank you and we love you. So,
thank you for always bringing me peace, love to all.
Always our pleasure. So,
when you get better at choosing again, are there fewer reasons to choose again?
Well, what happens is when you get better at choosing again, your life becomes easier, meaning you feel more peace on a consistent basis, meaning you just simply flow with life and you don't think about anything as though there was any other experience than now. Does this make sense?
Waiting for a response. Yes, for sure.
Wonderful. Meaning, when you begin to practice this, you practice it day in, day out, moment by moment, it becomes you, you see. You no longer identify yourself with the form as though the form is you. Does this make sense?
Wait, yes.
So then you are not disturbed by outer experiences or outer circumstances. Everything just is, knowing that you can maintain peace of mind no matter what you encounter. So keep practicing. And again, you will get to a certain point where you just will be that peace of mind. And that's really what you're getting towards, you see. That's awakening, you see. Remember this, peace is awakening. Conflict is sleep. So forgive yourself always.
Peace is more the norm, I notice.
Beautiful. Well, keep it on. And then, as we were saying, you become just that, a symbol of peace. A symbol of peace. And in fact, that's what awakening is. As you wake up, you exemplify truth and only truth. So you would exemplify peace in every situation. So keep going with that, practicing it always.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
How can I open my channel more widely for you, Master Jesus?
Beautiful. So the way to do that is to practice all that we have said. Set yourself aside. Remind the mind that you are a mind and that your mind is one with all. And as you do so, you open your mind to love, the love that you truly are, the love that is, you see. Nothing to try to do to open your channel for us to come through. Nothing that you need to do at all, except to lay yourself aside and hear the interpretation of you by the Holy Spirit instead of your lower mind. Does this make sense?
Waiting for a response.
And if any thoughts come in that are of a negative nature towards yourself or anyone, those are the moments when you choose again, you see.
Could you repeat that last line?
Which part was this we are on? So we were saying that you want to open yourself to you as you truly are, which is one with all, and also that you are a mind, and being so, you are already one. And that opens you to receiving. Does this make sense?
I get it.
Wonderful. And as we were saying, this part is probably the part that you were asking us to repeat, was that if you find your mind telling you something different than what we just said, that's the point that you can then change your mind again. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Wonderful. Because we will tell you, the ego will try to tell you that, no, that's not true. You're still not hearing, and so on. Well, you can say then, that can't be true. I am hearing. I am one with all that is. So.
Thanks. Does it help to feel as if you were light?
Why not? Why not? You are light in truth. So it's a wonderful thing to practice just for fun here and there. Does this make sense?
Yes, it feels good.
Then do it. Remember, if it feels good, then keep going with it.
Yes, thanks.
Wonderful. You're welcome.
I could use something to look forward to, some hope. Please describe a life of being tuned in to how I feel, always choosing the Holy Spirit's voice over the ego's. Can tuning out the world completely, well, almost, for a while be beneficial?
Well, let's begin with the first portion of this. You feel as though you need some kind of hope from what we teach. You would like to know the outcome. Is this correct?
Waiting for a response.
What do you mean? Well, let's see. You would like hope. Hope is there. Hope is with you already. So All you have to do, and we say this all the time, you have to choose that. You have to choose to look in the direction of hope rather than away from it, which the ego will always try to convince you there is no hope. You see, you are hopeless. You are hopeless, which means you are without love. And that's impossible. That's the lie of the ego, you see. And so, what you need to do is continue to practice the mind training, which is the moment by moment paying attention to how you feel, you see. You can tell by how you feel if you are moving in the direction of love or not. And that's what you have to look forward to, is a more consistent experience of love, of peace, and of joy and light. Does this make sense? The thing is, you have to use the power of your mind to change it whenever you find it wandering off in a direction away from love. And the only thing that may feel as though it stands in the way is simply an illusion, an addiction to the negative feelings that you have been practicing, or you may have been practicing your whole life. Does this make sense? And it feels so familiar because it is so practiced, but it doesn't make it any more than anything else. Remember, there are no hierarchies to illusion. So, what you have to look forward to is consistent peace of mind as you continue to practice the mind of peace. That is the same thing for practicing the mind of love. And the thing is, you notice that which is not part of love. And all it is you notice it and you say, okay, that is not love. I know where that takes me. I've been practicing that long enough, perhaps my whole lifetime. And now is the time to make a different decision. And that's how the miracle is invited in, you see. Because the miracle is a new experience, you see, which is the new interpretation of your experience, coming from the Holy Spirit rather than from the ego. Does this make sense?
Can being on retreat from the world for a while be beneficial to helping that practice? Not that you would stay out of it forever, but until you feel more even.
Yes, that would be a good idea. You see, what it is you want to begin to practice with a consistent practice and without distraction. So it is less of trying to run away from the world than just wanting to have the peace of mind, which of course is what you choose to experience, but you want to practice it on a consistent basis, which means without the distracting natures of the world, you see. Because all of you can relate to this, we are sure, that you could be going along, you might have meditated for a little while and felt really great, and then you open up your phone and you look at the news and something goes bam, you see, and then you're back to square one in your mind. And then you're all with upsets and all of that. And if you are not practiced in mind training, you just let it run. And then you say, what happened? What happened to me? I was doing so well. And all of a sudden, things went down. And what we want you to know is that it is important that you practice that state of mind, which is peace, always. And so a good practice for you and for everyone, for anyone really, is to notice what triggers that come up in your life that tend to upset you. Does this make sense? And in that, you can then decide to not go down that road. You say, well, that one always seems to be a trigger for upset. And as we have said before, a good thing to remind your mind is that I am not upset for the reason I think that I am. In fact, the reason you are upset is because you chose the teacher of upset. Meaning you chose to listen to the teacher of upset, the one who points out the things that will upset you. And in fact, it's not you who you really are that is upset, but it is your false identity. Does this make sense? And in that, you can become less and less attached to the false identity, and it becomes less and less of a big deal, to the point where it doesn't become a deal at all. It's just smoke or a cloud. You just walk right through it, you see. There's nothing there. There is nothing there. You are an unlimited being. You are unlimited love. Nothing can touch that. And that is true for all eternity, you see. And of course, that is beyond and outside of the dream. And that is what truly exists. So, does this answer your question?
Yes, it just seems to me that it's easier, excuse me, to have to be practiced for a while, and
Yes, it is.
I guess that's the point of so many retreats.
Yes, that is the point of the retreats completely, so that you can practice a mind of truth rather than being distracted by the myriad of forms out there that will take your mind away from truth and begin to try to teach you something different than truth, you see. And so being on retreat is helpful as you go into it with the intention to build up your strength in truth, you see. Meaning your focus becomes stronger in truth on retreat.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, as opposed to like a vacation or something.
Absolutely. Vacations, we're going to tell you, this plane of existence, the dream, the illusion, was thought as a great idea for vacation. But as you know now, not such a good idea. But forgive yourself, because it never happened. What's happening now is you're waking up to realize that it's already over. Okay, we're telling you that that's the end of it all. But you won't really experience that part until you get to that point of awareness. Does this make sense? So we are giving you that, but don't expect yourself to say, oh, poof, it's already over. Good. And we're going to tell you this. The reason why you can't just accept, oh, that it's already over, is because you're terrified of the thought of it's already over. Because you, as a separate identity, are part of the already over. Meaning the you, the personality, the personhood, the personal self is done, is already over. The moment that it was thought, it was corrected. But right now, what's happening is you're living out the experience of illusion, that you could be anything other than you were created to be. So, and that's why we use indirect learning. If we taught you directly, it wouldn't feel very good. It wouldn't be very loving. We would just say, come on, wake up. Slap, slap, slap. Hey, this is just a dream. What are you, crazy? So we wouldn't do that. So we take you step by step gently. And what we want to tell you about right now is that Holy Spirit is gentleness itself. So you can always tell what voice you are listening to if it doesn't speak of gentleness and love and compassion to yourself or anyone. Does this make sense? That doesn't mean you're not going to have negative reactions to situations in the illusion, but when you do have those experiences, you forgive it instead of beating up on yourself. Does this make sense? And that is part of awakening. That is part of being aware that you are a mind, that you are not the figure in the dream, but the dreamer. So, is there another question?
No, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you as well.
So this is a vacation in the land of density?
Well, laugh about that. It was what you thought. That, and this is, of course, it's just a thought, you see, that you could be something other than you were created to be. But it was a simple thought. You were innocent, though. Does this make sense?
Yes.
See, you thought maybe it was a good idea to see what was outside of love. There could be more than love. That was the thought. The thought was that there could be more than everything. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Ha ha ha.
That there could be something beyond the all. That's what the thought was.
Oh, yes.
So, yes.
There's a popular notion that contrast is required in order for God, source, love to know itself. However, it feels deep down that God needs nothing in order to know what God is.
Absolutely. This
being.
is a great thing. Yes, indeed. Okay, so here's the thing. You experience contrast here in the dream. That's what it's for. You see, the dream wouldn't really be if there was no contrast. Does this make sense? But yes, you are correct that God does not need contrast to know itself, because God only knows itself and it has never not known itself. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So the thought was that you could say, okay, well, it's just kind of making up a story for you to feel okay with being here. Well, God wanted to know about himself, or itself, herself, whatever. And so it wanted to come into contrast and get beat up and all of that. Does this make sense?
No, not really.
Well, of course it doesn't make sense, but do you follow what we're saying?
Yes.
The
The
thing,
distortion of what is the
Yes.
contrast.
Absolutely. And so because you seem to be here, contrast can be used to help you find your way home. Meaning, if it feels bad, if it doesn't feel good, then you know that's not what you want. Does this make sense?
Yeah, the insanity is clearly seen.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you can tell by how you feel and how it feels, the thoughts that come in. It may not be anything that seems to be outside that you're even looking at, but even a thought, the way that it feels. You can tell if it's something if you want to continue with or not, by how it feels. So,
Yes, the path home.
absolutely. So, yes,
Could you talk about grace and the part it plays in our time here?
grace. It is forgiveness. It is love. It is healing. And it plays the part of healing with you, and is from, of course, Holy Spirit, from Source, from love to love. Does this make sense?
Yes.
You are love. And so love only gives love to itself. You are part of itself, and that is grace. Meaning, what you think has occurred didn't occur at all. Grace and forgiveness go hand in hand, you see. Does this make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Love to love. That's always the communication that God has with you. Your job is to open yourself to it, and that's to open yourself to the awareness of it and that you are one with it. You can never truly be without love. If you were, then you would cease to be at all. And that doesn't mean anything, or doesn't have anything to do with your personality self. Does this make sense? But it has to do with who you really are. Who you really are is love itself, because it never left love. It never separated from love. And so it is and remains love itself as well. So love to love is that. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Wonderful. We'd like to know if there are any other questions. Yes.
Well, I'd like to say that while you were talking, I love these sessions because sometimes being in your presence like this, that an awareness comes across, a power that isn't always there. I had a moment of experiential experience of there being one consciousness, and you're talking to one consciousness. And the one consciousness is still sleeping and thinking that it's all these billions of minds. But for just a moment, I got to experience there's only one.
There is only one.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And when we do speak, we are speaking to one. And that goes for everyone, that it is one. We speak to only one mind. And that mind is the mind that you share with all. Does this make sense? It's wonderful that you got to experience that. For experience is how you gain trust, you see. You could have all the teachings of the universe on your bookshelf, but without being able to feel and experience the truth there, it doesn't quite build trust. Do you agree? That's why the experience is necessary. Not just book smarts or intellect, but experience. So there's nothing wrong with book smart and there's nothing wrong with intellect, but you do need the experience, which is beyond all of that. So wonderful. Thank you. Is there anything more? We have some time, about 12 minutes. So we'd like to know if there are any questions. We do want you to remember that as you are awakening, what you want to do is begin to become more practiced in extending and expressing love and forgiveness rather than blame, hatred, let's see, exclusion. Does this make sense? Yes, there's a question.
Yes. Do we believe we are many only because of our strong belief in separation?
Yes. Yes. You think that you are many because, see, the thing, okay, we'll say it this way. There are many forms, or what appears to be many forms. Does this make sense? There is only one mind, you see, but you have two parts to your mind. We want to explain this. And you have one mind, that's the Holy Spirit. That's love. That's the Christ mind. That's the one who is total and complete, you see. And then there is the ego mind, which seems to be many different parts. In fact, it's all of its projections, and what it does is it projects out anything that is in your mind, that it doesn't want you to remember that you are a mind. So therefore you stay asleep and you no longer, or you continue to not be able to change your mind. And so what it did was it projected out all of the fears, all of the blame, the guilt, all the negativity out into a world. It made up a world. That world is the world that you see. That is the dream. And so right now, you're coming to understand that you can change your mind, that this really isn't what you want. You really don't want to be separate. So you want to become one again, which is in awareness. And the reason it feels like you are many is because the ego mind is many. Does this make sense? And because you believe so fully in the ego mind as being you, you really believe that that's many. But we really want you to understand that, yes, the ego mind, that's many. You see, that's why there's such thing as conflict in the world, because the ego mind is many. And the Holy Spirit is one complete system of thought that is peace. The ego mind is one complete system of thought that is conflict. Does this make sense? So you have a choice between the two. These are your only two real choices. And you have the power to choose anytime and every time. Do you want the complete, total thought system of conflict? Or do you want the complete, total thought system of peace? And you can always tell by how you feel. So that's how you think that there are many when there is only one. Yes.
So where does one bread, one body come in?
It doesn't. We're going to say it like this: there is no bread and there is no body.
Would we wake up faster if you were less pleasant, less gentle, more
Not
direct?
at all. Not at all.
As you indicated earlier?
We're going to tell you this. That's the ego that wants you to think about those things. The ego is all about, hey, rush, 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 time to wake up. You better get it done. You see, that's the ego. Does this make sense? Holy Spirit is gentle, walking step by step, very slowly, because you are able to build slowly. As you have heard, a house built on sand does not last. Does this make sense? That's a house that's put together in 5 seconds. The wind blows, it's toppled over, it's gone. You have to have the practice that is slow so that it is stabilized in your mind. So it is a slow and steady walking home, okay? Patiently, gently, step by step. So, does this answer your question?
Waiting for a response. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So as you go along in awakening, remind your mind that the way home is slow and steady, step by step, gentle, with patience, with love, you see. And everything else is just a trick. So, all is well. We want to, yes, is there one question left?
Yes, even though there is only ever one, I feel that there's a distinction between God and his creation, in a sense, possibly by function alone and not actual divine living, unified substance, flow.
Well, how we can put this is, yes, we understand what you were saying. The thing is that, yes, your function here is forgiveness, peace of mind, and so on. God doesn't need forgiveness. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Once you come into the all that you are, forgiveness goes away because it is no longer needed. It is an illusion in itself, but an illusion to bring you home. You need illusions here in the illusion in order to bring you home, because you don't understand anything that is not illusion. Does this make sense? And this is our little wrap up here.
Yes, very
So,
clear. Thank you.
wonderful. We want everyone to understand that your life, we said this before, is your classroom. No matter what you're experiencing in your day, what you're experiencing in your life, that is your chosen classroom for the time being. And what's important here is that you choose who is your teacher in your classroom. Is it going to be the ego or the Holy Spirit? That's the same as conflict or peace. Does this make sense? And so the gentle step by step walking you home is to gently, step by step, choose kindness, choose gentleness, choose love, choose the Holy Spirit at every turn, at every moment. Continue to choose that which is light over that which is dark, seeing that you choose truth over lies. So gently, step by step, you're walking home now. We love you and we thank you for your coming together with us. The joining with you is always wonderful. We are always with you. And by the way, you are always blessed and loved eternally. And we thank you. Namaste.